Hey everybody, in this I'm going to be unboxing and setting up these outdoor Wi-Fi solar battery cameras, model CG6K. I'm not going to bother trying to pronounce that name there, but there it is. If you think that name's crazy, just wait till you see the name of the app these use. So these were purchased on Amazon, and I currently already have 2 of these in service, so I already have a good bit of experience with this device and how it works, so I'm actually adding 2 more. So this is one of them, and I've already unboxed the other one that's currently charging up. But anyways, let's go ahead and unbox this camera. So in this video I'm going to be doing a review of this device. I'm going to be talking about the pros as well as the cons. So these you can pick up on Amazon, sometimes less than $30. I got this one last night. It was overnight shipped to my address for, of course the device was $30. I bought 2 of them, and this is what you get. It's solar powered, and again operates off of Wi-Fi. Let's go ahead and unbox the camera, show you what comes inside. Packed pretty well. Alright, so inside the box you have the camera itself. You also have 2 mounts, one for the camera and the other for the solar panel. You also get the solar panel itself, which has a USB-C connection on it that plugs into the camera. And on the back there is where the mount goes into place, and it's the same thread as a typical camera tripod, in case you're wondering. You also get a USB-A to USB-C charging cable. This might be charging only, or it might be data. I think it's charging only. And you also get 2 sets of these inserts for, let's say, if you're installing this on a brick wall. You would use a masonry bit to drill your holes into the brick and install these into place, and then you could mount the cameras onto a brick wall. And of course there are also included screws. And also the manual. So this is a look at the user manual. You have 5 different languages, and one thing you're going to notice right away, and this might catch you off guard if you don't have a smartphone, is you need a smartphone for these devices. No, there's no website you can access to set them up. You have to use their app called the EOOEIES app. Use this code here from your device to scan and download the app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. So you can see here. Now I suggest actually charging up the camera, which I've already got my other one charging up. You can use this a regular phone charger, any USB style charger, to plug in this cable here and charge up the camera. It's good to have it fully charged when you go to install it into place. That way you don't have to wait on the solar panel to charge up, because it can take a little while to do. So we'll run through stuff here in just a moment. And more or less you're given a summary of the indicator light status. So when the camera is operating, it's blue. When it's asleep, it's off. When it's charging, it's yellow. And when it's fully charged, it turns green. So again, we'll run through this whole setup in just a moment. It tells you how to install a solar panel and things like that. So anyways, there's not a whole lot to the setup process. In fact, the app walks you through the setup process for the most part. Again, I suggest that you charge up your camera, and this will take probably a few hours or so to do. And I also recommend that when you purchase this camera, you also purchase a microSD card. And in fact, on Amazon you can get this 2-pack of these Gigastone 128 gigabyte microSD XC cards, because these cameras, unless you want to pay, you have a very limited amount of cloud storage available, and the cloud storage is only available for 3 days. And that's kind of a downside of these cameras, is they want you to pay for a subscription to access larger amounts of storage and also longer periods of storage. Whereas with the SD card, you don't have to worry about storing them on the cloud, because you have your files right there on the camera and you can access them through the app, or you can pull the SD card out of the device and access them that way, though I don't recommend doing it that way. But anyways, let's go ahead and unwrap this. So here's a look at what you get. It's a pretty robust camera. It's got a little bit of heft to it. So here's a look at the bottom of the camera. Pretty generic, as you would expect. Made in China, of course. So let's go ahead and grab my camera that's ready to go. It's fully charged up, and we'll begin setting it up. Okay, so here's my fully charged camera. So I've already got the app installed on my phone, since I already have 2 of these devices in service. But this is the app. It's pretty straightforward, but I will say the app definitely has a little bit left to be desired. It's got some bugs. I'll have to talk about that a bit in this video, but you can go in here and manage your cameras and all that good stuff. It's, again, for the most part, pretty straightforward. But we'll go back to our home screen. So, up the manual again. Again, as mentioned earlier, you'll scan this QR code and download the app onto your device. Now again, there is a workaround if you don't have a phone. However, I can't guarantee that the installation process will work using my workaround. Of course, my workaround is using BlueStacks, and I have a video on how I set that up. But for this video, I'm going to actually use my phone to set this up. So again, I already have the app installed and have it open, and I'm connected to Wi-Fi. It's important you're connected to Wi-Fi. So what we'll do is we'll go to Add Device. So add a new device. And this will be a battery device, so it will tell you, please long press the power button until the device emits a sound. So open this up here, and the power button is right here. Actually, before I do that, let's go ahead and install our microSD card. It goes in the bottom of the camera, like so. Now, of course, you can skip this step for now if you wish, but I'm going to go ahead and install my microSD card. Goes in like that. Alright, so now we're going to long press the power button, and you're going to hear this thing emit a sound.
Please use the app to format your SD card first.
I'm going to tap I heard the sound. Next step. Alright, so there's a serial number, and of course serial number does match. So serial number on the bottom of the device and serial number does match. Select Wi-Fi to connect.
Connection succeeded.
Okay, so we have started this camera up. Now this one I'm going to mount outdoors on my storage shed, so we're going to call this shed.
Please use the app to format your SD card first.
Alright, so we're going to create a location and select done. Tap let's start. So we're going to just go and go to the next step. We're going to select solar panel for charging. And of course, enable auto on after charging.
Please use the app to format your SD card first.
Again, we'll choose auto on after charging. So it's going to nag you to format that SD card until you do it. So, alright, select next. 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 This is really just how to mount the device. Alright, so I'm going to tap later on firmware. Let's go ahead and format that device, that card, so it'll quit nagging us to do it. So we'll select.
Use the app to format your SD card first.
So we'll select shed. We're going to put this device. Let's see here.
Please use the app to format your SD card first. Please use the app to format your SD card first.
Okay, let's go in here to go to SD card so it'll shut up about formatting the SD card.
Please use the app to format your SD card first.
Okay, so while the card is formatting, let's go ahead and go back to home, and we'll select shed, which of course that's how you access the live feed. Select more, and we're going to put this device to sleep. So that way it'll stop recording and tripping on motion while it's just sitting here on my desk. That's the process of pairing the device to your phone. So more or less what we're going to do is we're going to install this camera off video. Let's go take a look at one of my cameras out front that's already installed and working. Okay, so here's one of my two cameras. This was the first one installed. So you can see basically you have a camera just like that, and you have the solar panel. And it's important that you install this solar panel in sort of a south-facing direction. That way it can get optimal sunlight. Now this is kind of facing southeast. That way it can capture the sun really well once the sun comes up over the trees. Not the most optimal location, however this camera typically does keep fully charged. So let's go ahead and walk around and look at my side camera. And of course they're recording right now, so we also get to play this back so that way you can see how these devices, at least how the video quality is. It's actually not too bad. And these things actually do very well at night, which is one of the big pros of them. So here's my side camera. You can see, there we are, mounted up on the siding there, and this is wood siding, so it was really just a matter of just screwing them into the siding. And here is the solar panel. Again, not the most optimal location. I may have to extend that a little further to get it to a better spot, because this one tends to not always stay full. However, I will say this one gets tripped a lot more often because it sees a lot more. So let's walk around here and I'll show you where I'm planning on mounting my third camera. So I actually have a third and a fourth camera. Not quite sure I'm going to mount number 4 just yet, but I am sure I'm going to mount number 3. Number 3 is going to get mounted right over here on the corner of my storage shed, which is going to need a paint job pretty soon. It's getting kind of rough looking, but we'll go mount camera number 3 right up in this area somewhere, and I can mount its solar panel right on the side there. That way I can get good exposure of the sun. So while I'm out here, I do want to talk about good practices, not so good practices mounting your camera. So Ideally, you want to mount it in a spot where it's not easily accessible. Now, of course, my front porch camera is kind of accessible, but I mean, I did want to mount it on the front porch. I could relocate in the future, but it's probably a good idea to mount it somewhere, let's say on a corner, like how my rear corner camera is mounted. It's up high, not easily accessible. That way someone can't tamper with it as easily. So one place you do not want to mount your camera is on utility poles. So, well, I mean, for obvious reasons, you don't want to mount them up high on a utility pole, but depending on your power company's rules and regulations, they actually in many times prohibit you from attaching devices to poles. Because let's face it, I mean, linemen climb these things on a regular basis when they come out to work on structures. But in some cases like this, you can see that they have just replaced this one with a brand new structure. And if you attach something like a camera or even a birdhouse to a power pole, they could confiscate that, and you don't want that to happen. So definitely do not attach security cameras to electric utility poles. Now, where I could up mounting my fourth camera, I could actually mount it up here on this pole here, which is my personal weather station zone, because it's somewhere that's pretty high up. I can mount the solar panel in a spot where it could get good sun exposure, and it's not too far away from the house to get Wi-Fi connection. Okay, so here's one of my two cameras. This was the first one installed. So you can see, basically you have a camera, just like that, and you have the solar panel. It's important to install a solar panel in sort of a south-facing direction. That way it can get optimal sunlight. Now this is kind of facing southeast. That way it can capture. Here's my side camera. Let's see. Okay, so I recently finished installing the new camera on the shed, and that was a little bit of a process, but it's mounted and ready to go. So now we're here on the computer this time using the BlueStacks app player to run the EOOEIES app. This is how I use the app without having to pick up my phone. So you can see here that we have a firmware update that needs to be installed. Chances are likely this will be the case when you purchase one of these cameras and install it. And I should note that it's important that you do this with a full battery or near full battery. So we're going to select update, and here you can see it says the update fixes bugs and optimizes the user experience. So we're going to select update. There we are. And this will take a few moments to complete, and we'll come back when it's done. And there's a progress bar at the bottom. Okay, so the firmware has successfully been updated on the new camera, the one that's labeled Shed here. So let's take some time to go through this app and look through it, as well as configure this new camera. So first thing we're going to do is go configure the camera. So go to device management, and we'll select shed, the new camera. So there's a few things we can configure here. So I've left everything so far mostly default. So motion detection is the one thing I did change. By default it is set to medium. Now I turn it down to low to see how that goes, and I find that these cameras can be quite sensitive even on the low setting. So next thing is recording setting. So cloud cooldown time, you can only go down to 1 minute. So SD card recording mode, only record when motion detected, and SD card cooldown by default is turned off. Now here's the thing, and this is actually pretty important. SD card recording duration, default is up to 10 seconds. Now when it's only set to 10 seconds, there's a chance that you're going to end up missing out on something that you might want to capture. Now you can actually go up to 3 minutes on these. I set mine to 1 minute and I find that to work pretty decent. And the thing is, with the SD card, you have no, but by default have no cooldown functionality. So when one recording ends and the camera continues to detect motion, it will begin recording a new recording immediately, or almost immediately. There might be a few seconds of gap between the time one recording ends and the other begins. Now cloud recording duration, you can go up to 20 seconds, unless I do suggest actually going up to the maximum of 20 seconds. Now the thing is, we're currently on the free version of the cloud subscription, so basically it's free. Now if you want to more or less get more functionality such as AI detection and increased cloud storage and all that good stuff, there are paid subscription versions. Now of course I did try out the subscription because there was a free trial. You do get offered a free trial, and let's just say that the AI detection had a lot left to be desired. I canceled the subscription, or the paid subscription, before it charged my card. So anyways, we have configure motion detection to low, and again going to recording setting, I've set SD card recording duration to 1 minute, and then again you can go up to 3 minutes on that, and I've increased the cloud recording duration up to 20 seconds. And I should note, if you do wish, you can put the camera to sleep. Let's say if you're out in the yard working, you don't want your camera constantly going off and recording you, you can turn sleep on and it will put the device to sleep. So, and also if you click on live feed, as I think I did earlier in this video, that's another way you can put the camera to sleep. So that being said, let's go to video settings. We're going to increase this up to 2K. Now what's interesting about this device is the videos that it records, you'll notice that the audio is not the greatest, but the file size of the recordings from these cameras remain quite small. So I've been running 128GB cards in my other cameras for quite some time, and they still have plenty of space on them, and I have not deleted anything off of them. Okay, so you do have the option to turn on 12-hour format on the date and time that gets stamped onto the video. I actually have this still turned off, I think, on my other cameras. For example, let's just go and check another one. Yes, I still have it set to 12-hour format. I could change that later on if I wish. But let's go back to video settings here. So for auto night vision, I do recommend keeping it on black and white mode for two reasons. Number one, this camera has pretty impressive night mode vision. It uses infrared, so it's able to, the built-in infrared LEDs are pretty bright. Now of course the human eye and animals can't see that, but the camera of course can, and it works very well. Now color mode, basically it turns on the camera's built-in light. So The camera does have a built-in light that it can turn on. You can also turn it on manually if you wish. So I do recommend keeping it on black and white mode. Now I should note that, of course, during the daytime the camera automatically switches to daytime recording, which is of course color. So we have light sensitivity, we have low, medium, high. I keep it set to medium. Haven't really messed with that on my other two cameras. So we'll go back and let's look here, notification settings. I haven't really messed with this. Okay, so more or less, if you upgrade from light to the EOOEIES awareness, which is the subscription, the paid subscription thing, you can go in here and mess around with stuff like that, I do think. Alright, so now on my phone I should mention that I have notifications silented for this app. And the crazy thing is when I'm using BlueStacks, it signs me out of my phone. Kind of annoying, but I guess it is what it is. But anyways, if we go to SD card video, you can look at recordings that are on the device. Now I should note that it reminds you that it will wake up the device to check for updates. So this is actually from today. It's actually after midnight. So I should note this app is not very well designed. Like for example, if you hit back, it wants you to. It's actually prompting you to exit the whole app when instead you were just over here. So you have to go back over here and back over. So yeah, this is where I was at earlier. Kind of annoying, but anyways, alarm settings. Now, I do not suggest that you turn on the alarm, the audio alarm, or the flashlight alarm. Well, I mean, if you turn on a flashlight alarm, it will let anybody know who's on your porch that you're watching them. But let's be clear, this camera gets set off by the trees moving or cars driving by. You don't want the camera sounding or flashing every like few minutes when something drives by or the trees move. That's kind of ridiculous. But these options are there if you wish to use them. Now let's take a look at the cloud service. So we are on the EOOEIES free plan. Now for example, if I hit upgrade, so you have subscription options here. So basic for $3.99 monthly, or $43.99 for the annual, and that's US dollars. You get 15 days of cloud recording or up to 3 gigabytes, which still not a whole lot. I mean, 15 days, it's the free one gives you like 3 days, and plus for a little more you get 30 days, or for Pro you get 60 days. Now, of course, as mentioned, I do not subscribe to the paid plan. I do recommend that you just use the free plan and get an SD card. The free plan, you get, I'm not sure exactly what you get. It's not a whole lot, but okay, you get 2 or 3 days worth of cloud storage. I don't know what the space is on that, but honestly, it's what I use. It works fine for my needs. And you can access stuff on the SD card through the app at any time. And of course, there's no limit on the SD card other than the size of the card. So that being said, you can go in here and you can actually turn off the indicator light, which might be useful. Go here to power settings, and of course you can choose the power source. Now I should note that in some cases, let's say if we have periods where the sun is not shining a lot and these things do get low on charge, you can use a USB power bank to charge them without having to go in here and change any settings. I should note that, just FYI. Of course, audio settings. Here you can adjust the alarm volume and the camera voice volume, and I would caution you on messing with these settings because it actually might trigger the device to actually sound, and of course here it is late at night. We don't want that to happen. But anyways, share. This allows you to share the device with other users. I've never really used this before. But anyways, let's get out of that. So that's managing the device. Also, you can click up top or tap up top and get all sorts of other details on your device. And you can also manually push a firmware update. There's a firmware update available. Set the time zone, all that good stuff. Change your network settings, all that good stuff. So, anyways, let's go ahead and have a look at some other things in the app. So, go back to home. Here you have a summary of your devices showing the last capture, either that was triggered automatically by the device or manually by starting live video. So here it is late at night. Let's go ahead and start up the shed camera. So this is actually really dark outside. The only lighting source right now would be the moon and that light over there, as well as the light on that house over there. So for example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change into widescreen mode on BlueStacks. This will cause the app to restart. Now this app, it's kind of buggy when you're in widescreen mode. I think this app was intended for, let's say, a tablet that had a little bit taller screen, because the thing is, when you go into live, let's let it start up again. Okay, apparently now I can scroll. Okay, so here you can see this is the 2K functionality at night. Again, the only lighting source would be the moon, that light over there, as well as the light on the house. All this light here is the infrared built into the camera, and you can see it's lighting up things really well here. Quite impressive. And up here in the corner you have the current date and time in the default 24-hour format. So, for example, we can stop that. Now I should note, okay, let's go into this camera here. This is my side camera. Okay, here we are having that issue I was talking about earlier, where you can't, like, it won't let you scroll until you, like, refresh. It's, like I said, it's a little buggy. Let me just go ahead and go into full screen here. Okay, here we are full screen. You can just get an idea of how clear this video is. It's definitely not bad at all, especially for being in the dark. Now, this camera has a little bit more lighting to work with. We got a powerful 250 watt high pressure sodium lamp over here across the street, and of course got the light on the side of the house over here with the window. So a little bit more lighting for this one to work with. So if we go back to the other one, again, this one here working in total darkness, or near total darkness, and like I say, it's pretty reasonable. So let's go ahead and switch back over into smartphone mode, because this app was designed for a phone. And at the end of this video, I'm going to be discussing, in summary, the pros and cons, and of course the app is going to be one of the cons. So let's go ahead and go back into live feed again. So what's interesting, once it connects here, is you have the ability to turn on or off for sound. So this is actually the sound that the camera picks up. It's pretty quiet outside, so it's not picking up anything really right now. Now, of course, you can trigger the alarm, which we're not going to do. However, we will trigger the light. So this is the built-in light. So now you can see the device switched over to color mode. So, I mean, this one here, the color mode at night is not bad, but the thing is, keep in mind when you turn this on, people can see that your camera is active. So that's why I mentioned earlier, I suggest using the device in black and white night mode. And it's funny, it hadn't yet switched back over to black and white mode. This is how the camera picks up at night in color mode without the built-in light. So of course you can see the difference that the infrared really does make here. So it's going to stop, and let's go and restart it. This should get it back into infrared. I'll say this app is very buggy. I had to close out the app and start it back up. And this is not just a BlueStacks thing. This happens on my phone too. So there are a few bugs in this app. But anyways, let's keep going here. So you also have the option to either choose sleep, which I did, I think, earlier in this video, or you can actually activate the intercom and have a two-way conversation with someone standing in front of the camera. So that can come in use. So let's say if you have someone come to your front door and you wish to not answer the door, you can click live and then click intercom, or tap intercom, because you're going to probably use this on the phone, and you can actually have a two-way conversation with the person. So that's very useful. And the speaker, as you heard earlier in this video, the speaker is quite loud. It's definitely got a powerful speaker on it. So here's how you can review footage that your cameras have recorded. So by default it goes to cloud, and as mentioned earlier, you have up to 3 days of cloud recordings. And I should note, as I think I mentioned earlier, these things get triggered a lot. So you can see there's just tons of video in here. Now the thing is, the cloud recordings are all very small, up to 20 seconds maximum generally. Now what you can do is you can access the SD card, and by doing that you basically select SD card and you select a device. We'll select shed, for example, and it's going to confirm that you are going to wake up the device. In order to do this, so we literally just put this device into service. So there we go. So these are the recordings as taken since I put it into service, including the ones in the computer room earlier when I was setting it up. So let's go ahead and choose another device. Let's choose side porch. Now, as mentioned earlier, these cameras have been running their micro SD cards for quite some time. For example, we can go back. Let's say January 1st, for example. This is back on January 1st. So let's see, we'll play a clip, for example, here. It's a car going by at 10:42 p.m. January 1st, 2025. You can see I still have my Christmas lights on even then. So yes, we have recordings on this camera going back to the beginning of the year. In fact, we have recordings on this device going well back into 2024 when I put it into service. So there we go, back to October 11th. That's when I first installed this device, I do think. Okay, there we are. So, yep, there you go. So, for example, that just comes to show how much you can store on these things. Now, it wasn't until kind of recent that I think it was about March or April, that I went in and adjusted the settings on the cameras to record up to a minute. Now, I should note that doing so will increase power consumption a little bit. So, I forgot to show you something earlier. Let's go back to device management. Let's say, for example, side porch. This is the one that tends to record very often. So you go here to SD card. You can see, again, we're just under half usage on the SD card. And literally, I mean, this SD card theoretically could last up to a year. And this is a 128 gigabyte card. And you probably could put a larger card in this camera. You could probably put in, let's say, a 256 gig if you wish. Or maybe even a 512, I don't know, but I haven't tried anything bigger than 128. But just for example, you can see how much how much space we have available on the card. So another thing I want to go and cover before I end the tour of the app is, let's say you find a video you wish to download. So for example, let's go back into the SD card on a side porch camera. And it's still back on October the 12th. Let's say you find a video you wish to keep, or you want to save to your phone or device. So what we'll do is we'll go and select the video. And this is some car going down the road, but we'll choose the video, select all, and then download. And it's going to download to the device. Now, another bug with this app that really frustrates me is sometimes when you're trying to download a video, it'll go like 30 or 40% and then stop and say download failed, please try again. And sometimes it might take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tries to get a video to download, especially if it's a longer video, like a minute long. Very frustrating. And like I say, the app, it definitely does have some bugs in it, and the app is kind of a bit of frustration from what I've seen in the Google reviews for this device. So anyways, that covers the tour of the app itself. So anyways, that was a tour of this camera's app, as well as some sample video footage, and also installation and setup before installing it on my shed. It's just more or less a rundown of setting up the device, using it, all that good stuff. Let's go and talk about the pros and cons for wrap up this video. So the biggest thing this thing has going for it is its price. I mean, I got these on sale for $30. Sometimes you can find them even cheaper than $30. They do relatively decent video. It's not the best, don't get me wrong, it's not the best quality video you can get, but it's definitely not bad, and I think these do very well at night. Definitely a huge selling point for them is their night vision, or at least the night mode. Pretty decent there. The motion sensor does a pretty good job detecting motion. Sometimes it can be oversensitive, but like I say, you can adjust the sensitivity on levels of low, medium, and high depending on your needs. The device itself seems pretty robust. It's actually got a little bit of heft to it. I mean, I think a lot of that's probably the battery that's built into them. Pretty hefty device, and so far have not had any failures out of the ones I've had in service since last fall. Now I do want to mention one thing is, if you're in a cold climate, these may not be a great option for you, because once you get down below 32 degrees, these cameras will not charge, and it's due to the limitations of the lithium-ion battery chemistry, as you cannot charge lithium-ion batteries below freezing. And if you're in an area where the temperature dips down below freezing for a prolonged period of time, these cameras will go dead on you. Matter of fact, we had a cold spell back in January this year where we had several days where the temperature remained below freezing, and my cameras ended up going dead. So that's the thing you gotta keep in mind, is when they go dead, they generally, from my experience, I know they had that auto on option in the app, but honestly I've had to go and actually manually switch some on after the battery went dead. Now the batteries don't go dead very often, but you just gotta be careful about, for example, when you review video, especially the way I do it through the BlueStacks app, if you leave the video list up, I think the camera remains active waiting on a command from you or the app, and that can drain the battery. So definitely be careful about how often or how prolonged you are viewing videos through the SD functionality, and perhaps do it during the daytime when the camera is charging off of the solar panel. And again, placement of the solar panel will make a big factor on how well the device will charge. Just off the solar panel, the camera may take several days to reach full charge. Matter of fact, my side porch camera right now is not at full charge. It's like at 80%, something like that, because it's the one that gets triggered the most because of it has a huge viewing area, and of course cars coming and going set it off, the wind sets it off. But let's just say that we've had some issues with some neighbors in this neighborhood over the past several months, and these cameras have worked very well at picking up all sorts of stuff. I do recommend them for if you're on a budget, though I do suggest getting the SD card to go with them. Now for the cons. The biggest con of all with these devices is the lack of a web portal or Windows app or Mac app. Whoever designed these cameras must live in an alternate reality where smartphones are the only device of existence. Like computers and laptops and stuff like that, there's no such thing. All we have are these little devices called smartphones. Of course, that's not truly the case, but unless you have a way of emulating the app, such as using BlueStacks, you're stuck with one of these to manage these. Now, for a lot of people, that's no big deal. But if you're someone like me who likes to use the computer to do stuff like that, you might find it a little frustrating. It would be nice if they would release some sort of like full screen app for, let's say, Windows, through the Microsoft Store even. That's something I have to look into. Now, if that is the case, I will definitely update this video before I push it up to YouTube. But the thing is that having to use an app is just so aggravating at times. And even using it through BlueStacks, as you've seen through a lot of sample clips of me going to the app, it's not using the whole screen. It's only using like a small sliver of my screen because it's simulating a smartphone. That's the biggest drawback of all. Another con is you don't get much cloud functionality out of this device unless you're willing to pay a subscription fee. Now, I will be honest, that's better than some cameras. Matter of fact, my next door neighbors ended up buying a set of cameras. I don't know what kind of cameras they are, but literally you cannot do anything with them except take pictures without paying for a subscription. So if you're purchasing a camera like this, do the due diligence and research what you're getting. Look at the reviews, look at the details, and see what you're getting. That's why I'm going through the process of putting this video together to help you make an informed decision if you're looking at this specific camera on Amazon and you're wishing to buy it. Like I say, I mean, to be honest, I was kind of on the fence between getting more of these devices or switching out my system for something totally different with cameras that work with, let's say, a local DVR system. But I found these cameras to be okay for my needs. Probably the biggest thing I don't like about them, aside from the fact that they offer no more than a phone app, is to do everything they had to be connected to their cloud service. Just to set the camera up, you have to install an app on your phone, or let's say you can do it through BlueStacks, but you have to install an app in order to even rest your device and get it working. And it's kind of frustrating. For example, I'm here at home, I want to fetch videos off my camera. There's no sense in the data having to go from my device, possibly through some server in China, back to my internet service, back to my house, back to my phone, or back to my computer, when I could just direct connect to the device and download directly to the app or software. And the thing is, if the manufacturer of this device decides, we're not going to support this app anymore, we're not going to support this camera anymore, there is a chance that you could have a paperweight on your hands that you can't do anything with. And for example, yes, the app gives you details like the IP address and stuff of your camera, and trust me, yes, I have tried to connect to it using my web browser or using VLC to stream video from the device. You can't do it. It does not work. You have to use their blasted app, their buggy app. So that's probably the biggest con of these devices, is that stupid app. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that, but when making my decision to purchase more of these cameras, I factored in the improvements that they have made. Yes, they have released some firmware updates to these devices that have improved their performance significantly, and they've greatly improved the functionality of the SD card playback. That's greatly improved, greatly improved. Yeah, I decided to go with them. For the most part, I'm pretty satisfied with them, but yeah, they definitely do have their drawbacks. But anyways, if you are looking to buy one of these cameras, I would give it a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 would recommend. So anyways, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.